We want to get right to Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas, who is addressing the media. Let's listen into what Mayor Lucas has to say.
If you all ready? All right. First of all, thank you all for being here today. I want to acknowledge somebody we haven't talked a lot about. Bishop Tolbert is here. He's on the Board of Police Commissioners with me. The Board of Police Commissioners is a group of 5 people the mayor serves on, 4 appointed by the governor of Missouri. All have been engaged with this process. All have been engaged with making sure that not only do we support the people of Kansas City in our duty, but that we also do any review, any conversation with the police chief that might be necessary. I'm going to come back with more to say in a moment, but I wanted the chief to provide us with a number of details about the weekend. You can start on questions with him, and then I'll come back for questions and a little more discussion. Chief?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the mayor for his support during this whole time. We've been standing literally shoulder to shoulder on the top of a parking garage as we go through this incident and making decisions, and it's worked very well. So over the weekend, we've had a total of 151 arrests. Most of those were for disorderly conduct and failure to obey. We had one arrest that was a felony, and that was because there was narcotics tied to the arrest, and that was the only felony arrest we've had. We've had about, let me see here, 20 officers injured during this, 2 of which were hospitalized. Pardon me. The other thing I wanted to talk about is we've had to damage about 13 police cars. We think about $85,000 in damage to our police cars, about $100,000 in medical bills that related to our officers' injuries, and about $600,000 total in overtime equipment, lost things through the last 3 days. So it's been very intensive to have this much manpower. I can tell you, I talked to one of the TAC captains today. In the 3 days he was here, he's logged 35 miles on his Fitbit of walking the line out in the street behind us. So that gives you kind of a tell about how much people are working, how long the hours are working, how long they've been here.
Chief, one quick question here. Of the 151 records that I've seen, 12 of them give addresses an hour away from metropolitan regions. That pretty much kills the theory of outside agitators, does it not?
Mike, I don't know. I don't know what their intentions were to get here. I just know that something brought them to our attention when it happened. I can't say for sure. I mean, we don't have anything on social media that says that. If we had that, we'd say that. But I can't say that with any definite, positive reinforcement that happened.
But 12 is not a substantial number of 151.
No, I think what we have is mainly local people here that have been here. Yeah, so I think overall operations went pretty good. I think yesterday we had 1 car fire, we had a couple dumpster fires. For the amount of people we had yesterday on the line, I thought things were very well. Most of the people wanted to have their voices heard. We tried well to accommodate that. The movements, we had some concerns about St. Luke Hospital, other places. We tried to facilitate their movement so they could have their voices heard. As you know, they walked up all the way to 31st Street around. They did another loop here to the south on Oak. We tried to facilitate all that. Again, things didn't turn bad till about 8:30 last night. I want everyone to know everyone was issued a warning. If everyone wanted to leave, they were given plenty of opportunities. We have it on film. We'll be releasing it later. We use megaphones. Everyone was told it's an unlawful assembly. At that point, when we started getting bottles hurled and rocks hurled, that's when we used our chemical munitions to try and change the dynamics of the crowd and to get officers to not be assaulted while they're standing there on the line. We broke it up pretty well. It went back and forth a little bit of the night. By 11 o'clock, things were pretty much done.
Chief, when you mention an unlawful assembly, I know there's some confusion. Some folks thinking it's unlawful assembly because of a curfew. You were being rather liberal with the curfew in the beginning. Was it the curfew that made it an unlawful assembly, or the fact that they were throwing things?
Throwing things. We can declare that any time that there's some sort of other law violation. As you know, the throwing things, we're having our officers document that as an assault, but that's what made it an unlawful assembly. That's where we declare it. We give people time. We want them to leave. We just don't get a lot of compliance.
People are wondering why police have used such aggressive crowd control measures like tear gas and those rubber bullets, and when you determine that's what's necessary.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm gonna push back a little bit on the term aggressive. We didn't move. We stood right where we were. We're not the ones throwing things. We're not the ones doing that. We're reacting to it. So I disagree with the term aggressive. Are we trying to defend ourselves? Are we trying to bring safety back to the city? Yes, absolutely. To my knowledge, we did not use any rubber bullets or any projectiles of that sort. We just used chemical munitions.
Did you have them? Did you have rubber bullets?
I think we have something in that stock, but I don't think it was deployed at all.
So the rifles that the officers are carrying, I mean, I saw for myself.
Yes.
What are they sparing? Or what's the projectile?
We have beanbag rounds. They shoot beanbag rounds. We use them for mainly critical incidents, suicide people with knives, things like that. We use beanbag rounds.
You know, when you talk about the tear gas, one of the things that crossed my mind is there are people asking, well, if it's just a few people agitating, why deploy tear gas on the entire crowd in the park, rather than, they say, just arrest the troublemakers and leave everyone else alone. Can you address logistically why the approach you took is necessary, and also your thoughts about the peaceful and lawful protesters who have to suffer for the actions of the state?
You know, we're going to document this and put out some information. We're going to put together a video because this is a big thing that keeps coming up, peaceful versus civil unrest. When we ask people, when we get compliance, that's a demonstration. When we say to someone, do you want the plaza? We'll help you get cars. We want you to go out there. We'll help you with your microphones. We'll do all that. That's all peaceful. When we start asking people to leave because officers are getting assaulted, that becomes civil unrest. If you don't want to be part of that, which I agree, then leave. We're asking you to leave. Yesterday, we used terms such as, please don't throw anything at us. We were asking the crowd, we were begging the crowd not to get engaged in that activity. But at a certain point, everyone that's there is in the group mentality, and that is the issue we are faced with. We can't just surgically go in and remove one person without putting everyone at jeopardy at the same time. It's going to get much more physical and much more injury to everyone involved.
Chief, there's a video that's gone viral at this point of a gentleman reporting officers and he getting off the sidewalk, an officer spraying tear gas at him. People say that may have been excessive. Have you had a chance to review that video? And
I have not seen it.
Any comments on the...
I haven't seen it. I don't know how I can comment on something I haven't seen.
Another thing, protesters apparently claiming that officers were able to empty out milk jugs that were placed around the curb, around the periphery of the park. Do you know why officers would dump that milk for the protesters?
I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm sorry. Can't answer that either.
We do have that Twitter video. I believe your PIO is aware of it. We have that Twitter video. If we were to show it to you in a little while, after everything's wrapped up with the mayor, would you take a look at it?
This may be hard to believe, but we're a little busy today, so I will do the press conference and then submit whatever you can to me, and we'll try and get it answered, okay?
Got it.
Can you talk about today? What's happening today with the officers? What do you all have planned? Do you think that this is going to turn into what we saw over the weekend? How are you prepared for another day of protest?
I think we always plan. We're always ready. I mean, again, you're all standing here. We want these people, as much as a distraction it may be to the news conference. This is their right. We want them to protest. We have no problem with it. We are not doing anything to stop the protest or their voices from being heard. And we haven't all weekend. It's only when it becomes to a different state of affairs do we get engaged.
What's your biggest takeaway from what the protesters had to say this weekend here?
I don't know what they've had to say. For the most part, I've been standing up there, so I have not been engaged with them.
What are you expecting over the next few days? Are you positive? Are you concerned? Are you coming up with contingency plans?
Yeah, we're always planning, concerned. In the end, I'm hoping Kansas City realizes that we're here to help them and work with the community. We are looking Wednesday to have a great unity march from the Nelson down here to the very park we're using for demonstrations. And hopefully we'll have a lot of pro-community people and police officers together walking hand in hand and show this is the city we know and the city we love.
Last question for the chief.
Mayor, quickly.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Is there going to be a curfew tonight?
No, not right now. I assume conditions won't deteriorate that quickly, but that is not a plan. We wanted it to be a unique one-time solution for what we saw was a growing set of concerns. Yesterday, we were able to, I think, resolve and clear the situations several hours earlier than happened on Saturday. We did not see the same damage to persons and property as we saw on Saturday, and so I think it was effective, but it's supposed to be narrow. I agree with the chief. In fact, when I'm done talking to you, I'm going to go over and say hi to the folks over there. I want them to be able to speak. I want to be able to listen. That's what we're here for, and that's what the work is for.
I have a question about this video that has been discussed, this viral video on
Yes, ma'am.
Twitter. Have you looked at it?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know which agency those officers were with, and do you feel like it was appropriate?
So I have absolutely no information about the video. I do not know which agencies. What I said at the very top of our remarks is a serious one, which is that myself, Bishop Tolbert, so many others on the Board of Police Commissioners will be part of making sure that we review any situations after this event. I believe in accountability. The chief believes in accountability. Bishop Tolbert does. All of us do. We're going to make sure we do our job and we do our work in connection with it. What I'm saying is based off of Twitter, no, I'm not just giving a review and an answer and a recommendation. What I am saying is we will make sure that we quickly, efficiently look to everything that's occurred, and to the extent either changes need to be made or any other decisions made, we'll do it. I'll give you one example of how we did such a thing. For those of you who were here on Saturday and who were watching on Saturday, you saw that there was less ability for people to walk into the streets. That created more of a challenge. On the very next day, we saw that people were allowed to march up and down Main Street, down this stretch of 47th Street. I think that's something that we saw that was adaptive in connection with what we had seen. I've been in contact with the chief throughout this time. I think we've seen both the department be flexible. Certainly police commissioners, to the extent we've been involved, have recommended that in situations as well. And we'll continue to do that to make sure we can have as peaceful a time as possible.
After last night, what new adaptations are you going to have going forward?
Well, you know what? In a perfect world, I want everybody to come out here, be peaceful, and we'll just have a long... Heck, we can talk every day. We can have more opportunities for us to visit. We can have more opportunities for us to share information and to listen, because that's what this needs to be about, right? I was disappointed this morning, not so much because the lion's share of protesters weren't here peacefully yesterday, but the cover of every newscast that I've seen related to boarded up buildings, it related to conflict. And I don't think that's what everybody did. You know, I mentioned Bishop Tolbert a few times. He actually got to walk the crowd longer than I did yesterday. I was out there for a little while. He really got to spend some time there. There are important messages that people need to hear and that I want there to be heard. And that's our priority right now. But in terms of procedural or structural changes, look, we're going to continue to listen. We're going to try to continue to make sure everybody is as safe as they possibly can be. We'll make sure that we review almost every situation. After giving away my cell phone number yesterday, I just started getting all types of text messages. People send me all types of stuff. I don't have the chance to watch everything either because, like the chief noted, we're all doing stuff. That said, it doesn't mean that we're not the type of people who make sure we look at what's been done, we make sure we're doing what's right, and we make sure to the extent we have to address anything we do. And because we're all in public positions, we'll be sure to share that with you.
Mayor, was the Highway Patrol
Go ahead this way.
and the
Go ahead,
National
you're
Guard
fine.
still here?
You're fine.
What do you make
I'll
of
come
the
back.
homicide that happened just a block over? I mean, you had protesters. It didn't. I mean,
Well,
you could argue that it turned violent at time, but I mean, you had a man lose his life just one block over where people were protesting for hours yesterday.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the fact that what did we have yesterday? 2 homicides, and then I hear we've had one today. Rob, I mean, that's tragic for us. I think whenever we talk about the criminal justice system, if we are not talking about how we can keep people safe, then we're missing something. My heart breaks for every victim of crime here. Any life lost too soon is a very significant problem and a significant concern, and it is a huge problem we have in Kansas City. So, you know what? We got a lot of stuff to deal with. We got a lot of stuff to address. We will make sure that we continue to address how we can build better relationships between the police and our community. That's something that I know all of us here work on every day. But we're also going to make sure that we are saving lives in our community by making sure this sort of violence isn't repeated. I was very disappointed to hear about the homicide down the street yesterday, just like I was disappointed to hear about the other homicide that was further away. All of them are tragedies. All of them are significant problems, and all of them are things that need to be changed in Kansas City. Anyone else?
The Highway Patrol and the State and National Guard, they still here?
Oh, you know what? I'll let the chief speak to that organizationally, but because I'm...
Excuse me, Mike. Scared the heck out of me there. The Highway Patrol they left last night. The National Guard will probably go back tomorrow sometime.
Do you know how many guardsmen were here?
I don't. Sorry, I do not.
Chief, can you talk about your officer's response yesterday to that homicide a block away? I mean, you had a lot of manpower here, and then you have to go handle a
Thanks for
homicide
bringing that up, because there's been a lot of things on social media, I don't know if you saw it, that the police shot this individual. We were handling the protest. We were several blocks away. We have a bunch of independent witnesses that saw the homicide that we're talking to. We were not on the block. We were not close to where it occurred. But again, you can see the kind of things like this that can fuel this fire and how it can upset a community, and that's why it's so important to get the proper facts out there. We had nothing to do with it. We were not there when it occurred. We have independent witnesses, and I want everyone to know it's a homicide.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mayor,
You good?
bringing up the issue of, quote, outside agitators.
Yes, ma'am.
again. I know there's been a lot of speculation in other cities
Yes, ma'am.
nationwide about this. I know there was some speculation from you, I believe, on Saturday that, a good proportion of the, you might say, troublemakers were coming from out of town. And the numbers police have released today suggest that that's not really the case. Less than 10% of the people arrested were from more than an hour away, and the 4 people charged with theft from Plaza businesses were all Kansas City residents. What do you have to say about those numbers and what that says?
A few different things. First of all, I don't actually think I made a representation that this was just largely outside agitators. I think my view is this, and it always has been this. There are a group of people that want to come here and make sure their voices are heard. Probably the people behind me are that type. And they've been here. They have protested safely. They protested in peace. And that's the sort of thing we respect. Even if every person had a sign that said, "I hate Quinton Lucas." There are a lot of people with those signs, right? That's all right. They have a right to be here. They have a right to do that. What I don't think is something that we need are folks that are coming here to engage in some level of criminality. Those folks that are coming here to actually try to destroy things, whether that person's from my street or that person's from a street 2 hours away or 3 hours away, right? That's the sort of area where I have a concern. And that, I think, is what I've largely been addressing over time. Now, we certainly know that sometimes there are groups that try to speak to, hey, bring everybody together, and they may have a cause that has nothing to do with trying to preserve and save black lives in our community. But I'm interested in people that are actually focused on that very important issue. I don't think that changes anything. I mean, I know up in the Twin Cities, I think they had incorrectly said 80% of people were from outside of the Twin Cities. It turned out it was the exact opposite. You haven't heard that from this mayor. You haven't heard that from this police department. We are here, and actually Captain Jackson mentioned it last night. We're here to make sure whoever is here is safe, whether you're from far away or somewhere close. Come here, follow the law, make sure your voice is heard, and we'll make sure that you have a chance to be heard.
What I hear you saying is it's less significant where they're coming from than why they're coming and what they're doing.
You're going to get me in trouble as a lawyer. I say no matter what you're doing, as long as it's lawful, it's all good. I may not love it, but I think that's all right. What I am saying, though, is if you are coming with a desire to engage in criminal activity, right, there is no need for that here. Go somewhere else with your time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll see you.